Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the only show on the entire internet that dares to ask the hard questions that the other journalists won't, such as what kind of fantasy and sci-fi shows are we watching? Are we excited about Stranger Things? When is House of the Dragon going to come out? At some point, people will catch on, but until then, it's just us, and us being I am Daniel Selcke, the editor of winterscoming.net, here with Daniel Roman, the other editor of winterscoming.net, who has let his hair down today. Daniel, some preambulatory banter. I have not seen you with your hair down. I don't think I have. Do you prefer it down and a party, or do you prefer it up for a tea party? That's like a more kind of button down affair.
You know, I'd be lying if I said I preferred it. I mean, I like it more down, but I'd be lying if I said I wore it that way most because I'm just lazy. And usually it's easiest to just get it up and out of the way. So yeah, we're switching it up today. So I didn't realize you had never seen me like this until we were literally getting on the call.
I'm pretty sure I have not, even though I knew it. And by the way, everyone in the comments, hey, for joining us. Hello, Martha, Christian, Dana, Nicole, Julie.
Hey, hey.
What do you think of Daniel's hair? I would like to know your opinion on if you like it down or up. So just contemplate that.
Prepared. I was not prepared. I am sorry,
but just I mean, it's like like if you've known someone for a while and they show up and suddenly they like just have something different looking about them, it's kind of making you look at them in a different way. It's exciting and interesting. That's and true. Great content. So I'm all into it. And Julie likes it down. Sweet. Question liking the hair Julie. From a long hair guy myself. All right. Sorry, Natalie, just a little bit, but I mean, like, tell me you're not interested. Okay, but
yeah, it's okay. I don't mind. It's definitely why the people came today. This is what they came here for.
Well, they didn't know they did, but they did. As true. Dana says, rocking it, bro. Keep it long. Never know what you have to rock. Yes,
that's right.
Any second.
It's never the wrong time to rock, as Peacemaker would say.
Plenty of room to rock. Okay, and Martha likes a man bun. So that's one there. This is good. We have a nice range of opinions. But okay. Yeah. In terms of TV, books, movies, sci-fi, fantasy, what have we talked about today, Daniel?
Yeah. What did we come to talk about? I think the big thing that we came to talk about today is the 80s. The 80s returning in the 80s. Form of Stranger Things.
Some of us were born during that decade, but which one of us?
Yeah. Yeah. So Stranger Things 4 has a release date, and we also found out that it's getting one more season after this. So this is kind of one of the big things we're looking out for this week and talking about a lot. How do you feel, Dan? Are you into Stranger Things? Are you excited for this?
Most definitely. I like Stranger Things a lot. Cool. It's graduated from the Netflix throw spaghetti at the wall school of programming strategy, where no one thought it would be big. It was like one series among many that just happened to blow up. I like that it's Stranger Things is this weird kind of middle ground between it's not a like reboot or remake of an older series, but it feels like it kind of wants to be, because instead of actually being a reboot, it just fills itself with references to Stephen King of the 80s and the Goonies and Terminator and Red Sonja and like Cold War era sort of like American Paranoia War stuff and like old sci-fi. Like it's chock, and like John Carpenter, and like it's chock full of these references, but it is itself original, which I like. And I think it's a show that's done with obviously a lot of care. Like the Duffer Brothers, these guys take their time making this show, and they like to have every T crossed and every I dotted, and they really like to tease out like the characters, and they carefully craft the arcs, which pays off a lot, and you can feel a lot of attention to detail in it. And it's not my favorite show on, but I definitely respect it, and I definitely enjoy watching it. It is worth the watch. What about you, Daniel? What's your Stranger Things history?
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same. I kind of missed it when I got tuned in like late after the first season dropped because I was working at a bookstore at the time. Everybody was
Mhm.
talking about it, and I was kind of like, I'll
Mhm.
get around to it. I don't know. Um, but then I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I'm right there with you. It's not my favorite thing that's on.
Mhm.
But that's just because, if I have the choice between like 80s sci-fi horror and dragons, I'll take dragons every time. So it's not a fair contest,
Sure, sure,
but
sure.
I always love Stranger Things when it comes on, and I totally agree with you in terms of like it feeling like it fits into that reboot or nostalgia driven camp, but it's still totally original, which is awesome. I'd way rather that than an actual reboot of something. Um, and this season they've got Robert Englund, who was
Of course
the
they
actor
do.
who played Freddy Krueger. So he's going to be on this season. So they're definitely leaning in hard to it. Um,
As they
I feel
always
like
have, yeah.
this is a great example of Netflix's strategy paying off. I had heard that they're very like hands off with their creatives. Like they'll give people a lot of creative freedom, but then they have a really high bar for the numbers. So like Cowboy
Oh.
Bebop, that's why Cowboy Bebop got axed because they gave them freedom with it, but it just didn't meet the numbers that they had wanted. And Stranger Things totally blew all the numbers away. So I love
Yeah.
that it's gotten to go on as long as it has, and that we don't have a Stranger Things universe. I'm glad it just is what it is.
Oh yeah, I have theories about that, but we got some good comments here. What was that date Christy asked that season 4 is coming back? Because we know it now. It is May.
Yes. May 20. So it's being split in half. So the first chunk of episodes drops May 27th. The second chunk drops July 1st. Um, but even though, so it's only 9 episodes, even though it's being split like that, which sounds like, oh man, we're getting 4 or 5 episodes at a time. That's not that many. The Duffer Brothers, the showrunners, have said that this season is almost twice the runtime of the previous seasons. So
Which
these have got to
implies
be
some
some
pretty big
long
stuff, right?
episodes,
Like
right?
they're making
Yeah.
9 movies or something. They're making 9 Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, any Stephen who was popular in the 80s homages. And they're going to be like
Yeah.
feature length.
Yeah, 9 Steven movies coming. I mean, yeah, because they were like hour long, 45, 50-minute long episodes. So if it's double like, are they hour and a half long episodes? That sounds
It
crazy.
has taken a long time to get here. I mean, like
True.
the pandemic obviously threw a wrench into things for a long time. It under normal circumstances probably would have been out already, but even then
Yeah.
these guys take their time, which is why they're worth paying attention to. Like they're really trying
Yeah.
to do something big. Like they are not kind of it's not. I'd put Stranger Things in the rare crop of TV shows that really does feel like event TV. I think you said that earlier in one of your articles.
Totally.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there really isn't much else like that. I mean, Game of Thrones was it
Nope.
during its day.
Yep.
Stranger Things might be like the only like the other big one that like people will it is an event when it comes to people will congregate and talk about this and it will dominate things. Like there are other things that crop up, especially on
Yeah.
Netflix. Like, Netflix didn't know Squid Game would be huge. It didn't know that the TV show about the blonde who plays chess and has a drug addiction will be huge, but it just kind of happened that
Yeah.
way. But Stranger Things, what was that called again?
Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit. That's what it was called.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Stranger Things it knows, and it's one of the few things. I mean, it's what Amazon wants for Lord of the Rings. It's what HBO
Yes.
wants for House of the Dragon. Stranger Things has it, and I think we have some other good comments here, like Christian saying that it hits a soft spot for him because he would have been close to the age of the main characters during that time frame. And Natalie,
Yeah.
an interesting
Totally.
comment. Yeah, I mean, um, I've always thought that like it goes in that cycle, where like people are born, they absorb culture, and then they get old enough to start regurgitating it back, which I think is what the Duffers are kind
Yeah.
of doing. Although this is a different topic, but just the whole like kind of nostalgia cycle. I feel like it's stronger. No, it's not though, because like in the 80s, we were getting like American Graffiti and Grease and it's the 70s too, and like
It's
Back to the
true.
Future, and just like everybody who was grown in the 50s, just like, let's talk about what I was like as a kid. It's the exact same thing
Yeah.
now with Stranger Things and Pose and a lot of other like 80s style things. Just the people got older and they got jobs in the entertainment industry and they're able to make the calls, and this is what they choose to do.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like maybe we didn't it's tough. I feel like it's stronger now, but you're right that it is probably
It feels
maybe
stronger.
when it's because we weren't alive for the generation before that, so it wasn't as noticeable to us.
Mhm.
But like also thinking about, like the old rock, like the Rolling Stones, like those old rock bands who are now like touring again, it feels like the nostalgia train has come full circle. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world.
No, and when it's done well, who cares? Also, Natalie, I want to just hear
Yes.
because you said you think they're going to do spin-offs. Okay, let me open up a can of conspiracy on you really quick. So,
Ooh,
oh, the Goldbergs, good call, Christian. Yeah, there are a bunch of 80s set
yeah.
things just cropped up in the wake of it. I mean, Stephen
Yep,
King song,
Cobra
like
Kai.
it. Oh,
Yeah.
completely Cobra Kai, or like those It
Yeah.
movies. Everything Stephen King coming back now. The 80s is hot. Okay. Oh,
It's
Glow.
true.
Glow is pretty good. You should mention that too.
Yep.
Okay, so about Stranger Things spinoffs. So if I can briefly do a conspiracy module, um,
All right.
the fact
Hit us
that
with
there
it.
aren't any yet tells me that the people who make this show, the Duffers, are resisting having them. Because you know that a
Ah,
show this big, a show this popular, Netflix would have had like 11's like 11 sister spinoff and the Upside Down sitcom out for years now if they could have. They would have been on that over place.
yeah.
The Witcher already has a spinoff movie, a spinoff out this year, and a kids spinoff in development. And that
Yeah.
barely has 2 seasons. It like came out in December. Stranger Things going on 4,
Yeah.
and there's nothing. This tells me that this is what it tells me, that the Duffer Brothers signed a deal early on, and Netflix was like, this probably isn't going to be big. Fine, we'll give you control over spinoffs. And then it blew up. Netflix regretted it immensely because now the Duffers are probably saying, oh, we want to have integrity and don't want to have too many spinoffs that quickly next. Like, please, please, please check out the money you want to do. Like, that's
Yeah.
my theory, because there's no way there wouldn't be 1,000 spinoffs yet if Netflix had its say. It's got to be the Duffers holding it up because Netflix gave them way too good a deal in the start because they had no faith that the
Yeah.
show would succeed.
I am totally
that's my
inclined.
guess.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably something. I mean, we're speculating here, but I feel like there's something.
And I'll
to
do it
that.
again.
Yeah, because again, The Witcher's just the perfect example where it's like Stranger Things has had more success than that show, and it has no spinoffs announced. So yeah, I feel like you're probably right. And I wrote an article today that was about the actor who played Dustin was on a podcast saying how when the first season was going up, no one thought it was going to do very well. People were telling them, you don't expect to get a season 2, basically. So that makes me think of like what you're saying with the contract they gave them, terms about whatever creative freedom or having some
good.
say over the spinoffs, not thinking they'd have to worry about it. I mean, look at Squid Game. They're talking about Squid Game spinoffs, the Squid Game universe. So it is like, I feel
Because they
like
know now, because after Stranger
Yes.
Things, they got that clause, they got that standard
learned.
thing. They learned.
Yeah,
Netflix is evolving.
the
It's
spinoff
thinking.
clause.
As Martha says, maybe a spinoff of the Lost Boys would be good. Martha, they're making a Lost Boys TV show because, of course, they are, because the 80s are new again. I forget what channel it's going to be on and what network, but it's definitely coming.
Okay.
Anything else? And thank you, Christian. Good speculation. That's my version of the mood landing of the Kennedy assassination. It's like, what does Netflix secretly do behind closed doors? Anything else on Stranger Things, Daniel, that you want to talk about, or anything out there? Are you guys excited for Stranger Things? Oh, it's going to be the last season of season 5, which again is an integrity move.
Yes.
Like they're going to end it on their terms, and they don't want to drag it out too long. So there'll be this 4th season's 2 parts, and then a 5th season, and that's it, which I think is good.
Yeah.
The kids are going to start looking, like mid-20s pretty soon. So probably best to get out while you can.
Yeah, I think going out strong on season 5 is a good move. I feel like that's probably, I could see Netflix not pushing back on that too hard because they don't typically have shows that like plot driven genre shows like this that run for that long anyway.
Yeah, they do not.
So 5 seasons that are all at Netflix. So not like Last Kingdom where it like switched over, or Netflix took over a bigger stake. I feel like that's a really good run for a Netflix show. But yeah, there were just a couple other things I wanted to mention about Stranger Things. So apparently, did you know this? The actor who played Jaqen Hagar on Game of Thrones is in this season.
Tom,
I wasn't aware of that till today.
Yeah, he's gonna be a Siberian prison guard or something. Which, I mean, that's so weird that Hopper's alive somehow. I never liked that when they said it's the Gandalf thing, but like Gandalf's a god. You can get away with that easier. Hopper's like a police chief who died in an underground bunker and is somehow alive in Siberia and Soviet Russia. Ooh, they also lucked out. I probably shouldn't say this. The Stranger Things lucked out in that they happened to be airing at a time when suddenly we're afraid of Russians again. And they're going to like air this new season, and the Soviets are going to be the bad guys, and the timing's going to be so good for that. There can be so many ways to make it a cause célèbre. And success is talent plus opportunity, and sometimes you can't predict the second thing, and it's coming along at the right time.
That's true. And Stranger Things has had a pretty good run of it because they came out with their 80s nostalgia right at the time when clearly the popular culture wanted it. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that because Stranger Things, maybe restrain your power a little bit. Don't push us toward world events of global fear climates.
I wonder if they're editing anything right this second, depending on what happens in the next few days or weeks.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what the deal is with Hopper. I wasn't super stoked about that, but it feels a little like Lost territory to me. I liked Lost, but like in terms of like layering questions on top of questions on top of questions, I just hope the payoff is worth it. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I do too. And again, they're very careful, so I'll have faith proven wrong. As Julie says, with Game of Thrones, I'm glad to have a spinoff if it's good, of course. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I think I would have rather have the show slow down a lot and include many missing characters. Yeah, we talked about that, like how the Final Season of Game of Thrones could have been slowed down or altered. But let's talk about that at a different episode for 3 hours straight, because we could.
Yeah. That'll be before House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
How could it?
Maybe we'll do a nice
show.
retrospective one ahead of the the premiere of the spinoff. But anything else? Any other points about Stranger Things before we move on?
I don't think so. I think we hit on all the main things. I really like their posters. That's my
they're cool posters. Again, Netflix, like Netflix's thing is just kind of like the show's coming out in a month and like doing very little promotion. But like Stranger Things, it goes all out for. It will give you posters. It will give you like AR games. It'll give you viral marketing. It'll give you like, I remember for season 3 they had like Burger King tie-ins with Steve at a grill and like doing like you never see any other Netflix show doing that kind of thing. It's just Stranger Things. It is a very unique show for them. And one other comment from Zach over on YouTube. He thinks spinoffs are easier with a larger universe, whereas Witcher and Game of Thrones or other fantasy shows have a big playground out there. I think that's true, but Stranger Things, I mean, look, that's a pretty big world too. I mean, not only can you just look at like what weird stuff is leaking out extra dimensionally into like literally a town over. To the Upside Down get into Manhattan? Did it get into other parts of the world? You could do a lot. Or just the history of the Upside Down. I could they'd think of something, Zach, if they had the wherewithal. I guarantee it. I have faith in them. Okay. I think we're good with Stranger Things. What else on the docket today, Daniel?
So the other thing that we're going to talk about today is more House of the Dragon and George R.R. Martin stuff, because the dude's been in the news a lot the past week. How
Yes,
it
he
feels like the
has.
floodgates are starting to open with House of the Dragon. Um, was there anything you were particularly excited to hear from George or the House of the Dragon team this week?
No. I do like the it just feels like they're just winding up to reveal a release date. And
Yep.
I enjoy the like a CSI style of like taking the clues they put down and trying to string them into a necklace you can wear and like
Yeah,
actually tell you something. Like my favorite was
totally.
probably that they're going to release a Fire and Blood new edition of it. Like Fire and Blood is the
Yes.
book that George R.R. Martin wrote. That is, I wish I had it with me right now. That is going to be adapted as. That's right. Look at that hair. It's going to be adapted as House of the. I kind of want long hair now, so I can do this. It's going to be adapted as House of the Dragon. Big chunk of it, Dance of the Dragons, 200 years before, Targaryen War, and the publisher, which is not HBO. Do you know what it is? The publisher is. Look at that. Look at that beautiful thing.
Have it. Bantam
Bantam.
publishes Fire and Blood.
They're putting out a new edition of Fire and Blood on July 12th, I believe, which, traditionally you release a new edition of a book. It's probably going to, I'm going to guess it's going to have like Emma Darcy and Matt Smith on it to promote
Probably.
the adaptation. Like that's happened with Lord of the Rings, happened with Game of Thrones, happened with lots of different books. So if they're releasing Fire and Blood edition on July 12th, that could clue us in. Okay, so the show is hopefully coming out not long after that, maybe later in July, maybe August. And then September is the danger zone. But that's my favorite bit of it, to kind of read the tea leaves like that.
I think in terms of reading the tea leaves, that's the biggest news of the past week for Fire and Blood or for House of the Dragon, because it tells us. So Fire and Blood is already out in all the paperback formats a book would normally come out in. So this is definitely a tie-in version to the TV show. I think it's on Penguin Random House, their website. They're the publisher that owns Bantam. So they mention House of the Dragon in the description for this new edition. So whether it has Matt Smith and Emma Darcy on the cover, or it just has a big old sticker that says the source for the HBO series,
it'll absolutely have that. Now adapted as an HBO series.
Totally. No matter how you slice it, it means that for sure we are not going to see House of the Dragon before that. There's basically no chance it's coming before July 12th, because those kind of tie-ins typically come like weeks to months. Usually it's weeks, but sometimes months ahead of like a show or movie release. Right. But Westworld comes out in the summer. So I feel like we might have the fantasy rumble between Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
And House of the Dragon.
That'd be such a kind of what's the G-rated word? That's kind of like such a boss sort of challenging silverback gorilla, pound the chest. I dare you to come over and make with my woman in front of me move by HBO to release at the same time as Lord of the Rings coming out in September. But I wouldn't be. I'd be upset because I have to write about a lot, but I'd be amused by the chutzpah.
True. Yeah, I mean, it would be a crazy couple of months, and I loved Casey Bloys, HBO's programming president. Someone asked him about that. How would you feel? Like, are you worried about the Rings of Power? And he was basically like, "Nah, I'm just staying in my own lane, and we're working on our stuff. It's a good policy to not look at what other people are doing." So yeah, I feel like they're not that worried. They're just going to put it out when they feel like,
which they will. I hope it's. Do you know when exactly Westworld comes out?
So in these same press rounds that Bloys has been making, he confirmed the summer. That's all we know. So it could June, July, or August.
Maybe that's perhaps that. Man, God, we are spoiled this year. That we really are. I mean,
We
Westworld's going to be
really
giant,
are.
expensive. House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Like these are
Yep.
big. Stranger Things. These
Yep.
are big,
L-
heavy hitting, expensive, splashy shows that I'm looking forward to. I really am. Let's get some of the
Yeah.
comments here. Oh, sorry,
Let's
Dan. You
do
have a
it.
thought? Okay.
Just it kind of feels like I felt like last year was a big year because we got season 2 of The Witcher and The Wheel of Time. It
Thank God.
almost feels like that was like, I don't want to say the semifinals or the semi pros, or like it felt like that was the
Prelude.
warm up for this year a little bit, because now we're looking at, like you said, House of the Dragon, Westworld, The Rings of Power.
Stranger Things.
Yeah. Yeah, how could I forget Stranger Things? We just talked
The
about
hype is real.
the
We
hype
got
is real.
hype is real. Chrissy will record both. No conflict there. Oh yeah, Chrissy, I get it. Yeah, well, like to watch it'll be great. We're gonna have to like just like stay up late into the wee hours of the morning, just writing endlessly about this stuff when it's both on at
It's
once.
true.
If they were apart, it'd be a bit easier for us. But that's an us problem. Julie's very excited. Rebecca asked, "Do you ever write up how you would take a show?" Martha has a good take on House of the Dragon. Ooh, oh, as Martha says, that is too far away. Which I mean, yeah, Martha, I get it. Yeah, that it is several months in the future, but oh, I don't know. Those dragons are expensive, and they're going to need to spend some time, their own late nights, I have no doubt,
Yep.
making sure they look as fierce as possible. We wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, exciting times. I'm into it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm okay with them taking their time. I mean, no matter what, it's coming this year. Like, we know it. They've announced it. And it's probably gonna be a little bit of a wait before season 2, because they haven't greenlit it yet, because HBO kind of resists the trend of everybody greenlighting season 2s immediately, that all these other like streaming platforms are doing. They're waiting to see how it does, I think, first. I think that's another thing Casey Bloys said in the press rounds. So
I wonder if he's just talking to talk, or because that I mean, I don't know. That seems hard to believe. Like I know HBO is the
That's
classy
fair.
one, and they don't jump at everything, but they have to. They know they have potential golden goose here. I don't know. I'm reserving judgment on that one.
That's fair. I'm sure that the groundwork, it's not like they're like, okay, Miguel Sapochnik, go home and do something else. I'm sure they're like keeping their main players and showrunners and everything kind of on retainer.
Yeah, there you go.
To be ready for it. So yeah, I agree with you. I think they're kind of talking the talk. I don't see I don't see a world where we don't get a House of the Dragon season 2. I can't imagine that happening.
I'd be shocked. And some good comments here. Yeah, Outlander's coming next month,
Yeah.
early next month. Next week we'll talk about it. We got Last Kingdom also coming early March. We've got I just got the screeners for that. Gonna watch the hell out of that. It's gonna be really fun. Vikings is coming this Friday. Yeah. Oh, it's so good to say. God, there is so much coming out. All right. As for George R.R. Martin, I mean, he also made some other comments, said that he's also, I believe, making Wild Cards comics for Marvel, which is just Wild Cards is like shorthand for like thing you don't really want to hear because it's not the thing you actually want to hear. I don't
That's funny.
care about that. And he said he doesn't have time to. George R. Martin isn't himself going to write a House of the Dragon script because he's too busy doing that and writing The Winds of Winter, which he did. Whenever he mentions Winds of Winter, I feel it's worth mentioning, even if it's like in a completely benign way like that. And he's working on other HBO shows and an AMC show, and et cetera and so forth. We love Last Kingdom too, Chrissy. Yeah, and it is coming, I think, the 6th, like March 6th, in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. I think you're right. I think Last Kingdom is March 9th. Outlander's March 6th.
I was so close. Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff. Our Flag Means Death, that HBO pirate comedy, is right around then too. I think that's like the 4th, 5th, or 6th. So yeah, which looks hilarious. I'm excited for that show.
Any other
Martin
Wild
stuff? Cards? Yeah, I feel
wild
like
card.
wild cards. I'm with you on the. This is the thing. I'm always like, okay, and there are lots of wild card fans. It's a series that's been around since like the 80s. I've never met
80s.
them. That's not to say they're not out there. It's been running so long, they must exist. But to be fair with this, Martin is probably going to have to do very little for the Wild Cards comic. He's teaming up with
everything.
Marvel. They're adapting the first Wild Cards book, which came out in like 1984, I think.
Damn, that is a long time.
So
That's
yeah,
longer than
so it's already
Fire's
written.
been around.
Oh, yeah.
No wonder he cares about it so much.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And Wild Cards also has more of a community aspect to it because he doesn't write all those books. They're like shared universe anthology books. So he gets like 10 writers to all get together and they each write a chapter basically and it gets put together and he edits.
Sounds kind of fun.
It does sound like fun. I assume that's why they've gone on so long because everyone has a great time. Like Daniel Abraham, who is one of the Expanse writers, has written for them. Victor Milan, who wrote those like Dinosaur Night novels. A whole bunch of people have written for those over the years. Mark Lawrence, who did Prince of Thorns. So yeah, cool to see. I would say my excitement is middling at best. Definitely glad to hear him being too busy working on the Winds of Winter. That's the best part.
Chrissy says I've given up on JRR, which I feel like maybe we should just leave it there and move on.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. So where are we going from here, Dan?
Well, Daniel, and also all of you out there in internet land, are you watching or reading anything interesting to like to talk about while we wait for Vikings and The Last Kingdom and Outlander and all that other stuff? What are you watching now? What are you watching now? Oh, is that your dog?
No, nah, he's sleeping.
Okay,
I had to get another book because we're on what we're watching and what we're reading.
Naturally. Did you watch the end of Peacekeeper on HBO Max?
I did. Wait, did you say Peacemaker?
Peacemaker. I did that before too. Peacemaker. Okay.
It's too much. There's too much peace. Peacemaker would understand. Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it. I've been really enjoying that show, and I felt like they did a good job on the finale. What'd you think? You saw it.
That show broke through. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. Yeah, like it's kind of interesting. Like I've said that I have a weakness for these like kind of anti-superhero shows like The Boys and Invincible. And now we have not only a glut of superhero shows and movies, we now have kind of a growing glut of iconoclastic anti-superhero shows focused on the superhero shows.
Yes.
Between Peacemaker, Invincible, The Boys, and whatever else they got going on. Like it's becoming its own little subgenre. I liked it. It was easy watching. It was fun. Like they clearly having a good time. The violence was fun. The performances were funny. I'm not sure I love his ability with dialogue like James Gunn. He seems to like write a lot of those like kind of long circuitous conversations that I can tell you want them to be funny. I'm not really laughing that much. It's kind of like if Joss Whedon and all the pop culture stuff met Judd Apatow and just they kind of got together and wrote some dialogue together is what it kind of feels like to me. But there were real character arcs. I thought John Cena is definitely a charming lead. And yeah, I just enjoyed it overall. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's nice to see, we get so many superhero things. Superhero shows and movies are almost becoming synonymous with being extremely entrenched in existing universes to the point where it's hard to appreciate them on their own. So it's nice to get a show like Peacemaker where even if you didn't really see the Suicide Squad, you can still watch Peacekeeper. Peacemaker. You can still watch that show with John Cena, and it's still pretty good.
That show.
And yeah, I love the slight amount of crossing over they did. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the end of Peacemaker, slight spoiler here. There's a cameo from the Justice League at the end. And I thought that was great. I love that he kind of wrote it in and then just gave it to the network, and they didn't really realize. He said that James Gunn said they didn't really realize what they were agreeing to until they saw what he shot. So yeah,
classic technique. Ask for gifts on permission. That's important to know in business and life.
Yeah, and so the big news for Peacemaker too, that finale is the most watched episode of an HBO Max original since the platform launched. Cool. It was up over like 44% from the premiere of Peacemaker. Yeah, so they definitely found their audience, and they got renewed for season 2.
Beautiful. As Christian says, he's doing a proper Dark Tower series, which Christian, I think AMC was trying to do that, and it didn't work out. I don't know why, and they had to drop it. It'll probably come back as long as this 80s post Game of Thrones expensive thing continues. It'll probably be back. A couple of folk mentioned Euphoria. I have not watched Euphoria, although I hear I know it's like the show. Have you watched Euphoria, Daniel?
I haven't seen it. I mean, I've heard it's really good.
Me too. Yeah,
I just haven't gotten around to it. I heard Tom Holland might have had a secret cameo. Did you see that?
I didn't hear that. No. Well, then now it's officially like going to go through the roof in ratings wise. Anything he touches right now is huge.
Yeah, and he's been trying to talk about like getting a cameo on it, and some people took like a picture of a bunch of students in a classroom and zoomed in on one of them. It kind of looks like it could be Tom Holland.
Great. It's very important. I'll try to watch that one because I know it's very big, and people are way into it. So I'll try to pick that one up eventually. I also watched the new Marvelous Mrs. Maisel episodes. They came out for Amazon on Friday. That show's fun. Have you ever watched that show? It's great. Yes. That show is good.
Yeah,
it's like
I really enjoy that show.
Easy. Now, see, that is motor mouth dialogue that I can get behind, where it all feels a little more like it's actually driving at something, but it's still very characterful and still has a lot of personality to it, and still kind of dropping those little bon mots, the little funny things that she's Amy Sherman Palladillo is whatever he wants her name is so well known for. That show's fun. That show's good. I like the period. I like the 50s. I like all the costuming. I just like the feel of it. That show's fun.
Yeah, no, it's a great show. I really enjoyed the first couple of seasons. That's when I've been waiting on to come back. It's been tough with the pandemic because some of these shows have been gone so long that it's easy to feel a little less excited when they come back. But I'm glad to see that one come back.
Most def. And anything else, Daniel? What else are you spending your time doing outside of work?
Yeah, so I've been reading a lot. I finished this book. We'll see if I can get it on camera and have it not look ridiculous. Ooh. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. AMC just optioned this book and are potentially developing a series with the Walking Dead showrunner Angela Kang attached to it.
Cool.
So I thought it might be good to get in the loop. And this is like a epic fantasy, but based on pre-Columbian American societies. Cool. Like the Aztec and Maya. So it is an extremely cool book. Great writer. The sequel comes out on April 19th, I think. Fevered Star. So yeah, really good. The other one I read in the past week or so was The Misfit Soldier by Michael Mamet. We have an interview with him going up this weekend. And that book is like a military sci-fi heist novel, which I had never read something like that before, but it's like a soldier gets left behind. This really misfit lieutenant assembles a team just like Ocean's 11 that each have their own skills, and they go to get him back. But there are conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. So it was a great, great fun time. So that's what I've been doing in my downtime, reading and watching stuff.
I kind of want to play Elden Ring. Do you want to play Elden Ring at all? The new video game from George R.R. Martin, sort of.
Yeah, so I want
usually
to.
wouldn't, because I haven't played a Dark Souls game, because I know they're famous for being hard and
Same.
difficult, and just like I I know I could do it, but I also know I would lose like just tens of hours of my life to it. But
Yeah.
the pressure of this one is so good, and they're saying it's not quite as grueling. So I'm like, oh, I might have to get this one.
I am gonna play Elden Ring at some point. I'm almost so Horizon Forbidden West came out last week. So I started that one because I loved the first game, Horizon Zero Dawn. Forbidden
right.
West is just like it takes everything that could have been fixed from the first game and makes it better. It's similar enough in terms of like a big open world game to Elden Ring that I'm like, who planned these to come out a week apart? I'm excited for both of them, but I can't possibly play them both in any reasonable window of time. So yeah, I'll get there, but I have no idea when.
And just so we're not accused of going completely off topic, George R.R. Martin wrote the lore for Elden Ring. So see, it's related,
Yes, he
people. It's
did.
not just a
Yes.
video game podcast going into it. And what that says, also, Amazing Mrs. Maisel, watching that too, really good show. All right, shall we move on to our final and most intense segment?
Yes, I think it is time for the lightning round, where we talk about news and do not go past the buzzer ever.
No, we got 20 seconds to say what we can about 8 scintillating quick news stories. And if we go past it, there are consequences. Who's going first?
I think you are reading this first one.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to the WiC News Lightning Round. Okay, Daniel, first story in the lightning round. Walton Goggins, noted actor from Righteous Gemstones, but other stuff, joins the cast of Amazon's Fallout TV show.
You know, I've been nervously optimistic about the Fallout TV show. I love those games. I feel like Walton Goggins is like the perfect kind of actor to get for that, for the zany, weird humor of Fallout. So everything I hear makes me more excited for it.
And we're done. Second suspense.
Take that buzzer.
Yeah, like rock your hair a little. I'm sorry, I don't mean to paint your hair. Just like, there you go. If you feel the need to rock out in triumph. All right.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So Dan, Lin-Manuel Miranda, noted composer of things like Hamilton and Encanto and a bunch of other stuff. He's no longer attached to the King Killer Chronicles show.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda, like the biggest in musical theater right now, was going to do a show based on Petra Prophecy's The King Killer Chronicle, which is a very big fantasy series that has a lot of passionate fans, but just was going to be made into a show. And that's one of those shows that they tried to like franchise out, like let's do a sequel and then a thing, like before it even got made. And it kind of spiraled out. That's the business. Okay.
It's true.
Daniel, damn it. Catriona Balfe, who plays Claire Fraser on Outlander, almost didn't land the role of Claire on Outlander. What? That's impossible.
Yeah, right. In another universe, we could have been watching Outlander with a different actress as Claire. She was so unknown as an actress that they gave her a description that had no details for the character. She totally botched her first audition. Then someone, a different agent in London, talked to her months later, gave her more information. She sent in another tape. And the rest is history.
Ooh, yeah. The rest is history. Well, I'm glad it worked out.
All right.
Hit it.
Yeah, right? Can't imagine. Okay, so I know you're very excited about this next one, probably added it immediately to your watch list. Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts reportedly working on one of Disney's 900 Star Wars shows. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, just talking about franchising out stuff, that Star Wars is one they're really doing a lot with. They have a lot of shows on Disney Plus, coming to Disney Plus, and they want to have, like, the rumor is, the probably true rumor is that the No Way Home director is going to make like a young adult Star Wars show with like like they called it Stranger Things in Space, pulling it back, where it's like kind of a younger cast who are Jedi Padawans. They're going to run. And Julie, I see you. Don't worry. I assumed you were not calling us a git. Although if you were, we wouldn't know what it is. It's an English expression. And we hear gotcha.
Man, rough, Julie, rough. Okay. What's next? I think you're reading the next one.
Yes, I am. There's no way we got off track. Okay. Peter Dinklage, who played Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones, will probably be returning as the giant king of dwarfs who made Thor's hammer Eitri. A lot of names in this one. In Thor: Love and Thunder. Huh? You want to see Peter Dinklage back in the saddle again?
Man, he made me laugh a little bit. I feel like Peter Dinklage has tried so hard to distance himself from like stereotypical like fantasy dwarf roles.
Yeah.
And that one really felt like one. Like they had him do a deeper voice and like all this stuff. It's Thor with Taika Waititi. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. As Rebecca says, Disney has changed so much since Walt. Yeah. Rebecca, yes, it has. Many things have gone. Have been very altered.
All right. So, Dan, HBO's True Blood reboot has stalled out. How do you feel about that?
So, HBO's was in the, and to be fair, they were like very early, like they were considering a True Blood reboot, and it kind of got reported as like HBO's making a True Blood reboot. They may not have ever really been in the full-on stages, but whatever they were doing, it's not happening anymore. It seems to have stalled, development hell, just like not really happening, which I'm fine with. True Blood isn't really that old of a show, so I'm good with them. We're doing really good, by the way. We're being very disciplined and not talking, even if we have more to say. Hey, Daniel.
That's
okay.
Restraint.
They're restraint. It's so we're so admirable. FX confirms that Ellen Ripley, the iconic character that I used to go into from the Alien films, will not appear in its new upcoming Alien television show.
That's fine.
That's fine.
No, that's totally fine. It's set way in the past. I feel weird about the fact that it's set in the past on Earth because that kind of undermines the point of the movies to not get the aliens.
Will there be an alien in it?
Yes, they've confirmed. Okay. I mean, otherwise, what would it be called?
Before Alien. BA.
Sadly, Ripley Scott made that movie. It was called Prometheus.
You say Ripley Scott. You said Ripley Scott. We all heard it. Ripley Scott.
Did I? Yeah. Ridley Scott. Wow, I never noticed that before. Okay. Last one. Gotta stay focused. HBO releases a full trailer for its pirate comedy, Our Flag Means Death.
Yeah, this looks really good. And this is cool because like this show is like, should we cover this show at WiC? Because it's like period. It's got a couple of Game of Thrones cast members like Hodor. I don't know though, because I don't want to watch it just for itself. It looks good though. It's Taika Waititi, who is just like Hollywood's golden boy. What We Do in the Shadows, Thor Ragnarok, funny show. Hodor's in it. It looks good. I'm gonna watch it. Give it to me now. This was, I think, one of our best things we have done, I believe. Although now I can circle back really quickly about Peter Dinklage playing the King of Dwarfs in the Infinity War movie. Okay, so like, yes, he's playing against the stereotype, but the entire joke is that he's a dwarf who's big. It's kind of like, yes, he's playing against it, but it's also, it's all about him being a dwarf. I don't know if it's like as far as he would ideally want it. Like Tyrion Lannister is a full character who also happens to be a dwarf. Like Eitri, the giant king of dwarfs in Infinity War, is kind of like, isn't it funny that Peter Dinklage is small, but now we've digitally like reverse hobbited him to make him big? I'm not sure I would classify that as bucking the stereotype because it's still so engaged with the stereotype.
Yeah, I feel like he took the Marvel money there, which like no judgment there.
Yeah,
it's
take the Marvel money, dude. That's fine.
Yeah.
I take the Marvel money.
If Marvel calls me, I will take the Marvel money. I do not blame him one bit.
It does Cyrano too, which is better because that which I haven't seen and probably won't. But it does look pretty cool, and that looks like a more unique kind of movie. Where that role, Senator Bergerac, is usually played with like a guy with a long nose, is what it is in like the play. But now they're changing it to he still has something that's not, fully proportionate, but this time he is played by a dwarf actor, and that's kind of the reason he feels insecure. But again, it's like a full character. Stage Nation is a
Totally
interesting movie. I like that movie, Christian. All right.
Ooh.
Anything else we want to jaw about before we end here?
I don't know. I can't think of anything. I mean, we crushed it so much at the lightning round that it's kind of
really
like we got to the end and we got time to kill. What do we even do now?
I have a request that might reduce you to a dancing caricature for me. Would you like just rock your hair? Is that something you could do? Or
Sure.
like you okay, that look, God.
We'll do it to get it over with.
Should I grow my hair out? I'll think about that over the next week.
You rock the short hair. It's pretty nice.
Thank you. I never had long hair. Maybe I want it. Because
that's fair.
Whatever. This is something that I'll consider myself. Anyway, thanks for watching us, guys. We are here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Winter is Coming Facebook page and the Winter is Coming YouTube page. So come back. We're also available in podcast form wherever podcasts are available, iTunes, Google Play. So come on back and spend your Wednesdays with WiC. Toodles.